All right. Hello again, adventures, and welcome to another exciting daily vlog. This is Daily Vlog 2025, number 213, I think. Numbers are really hard, especially now that it's August and the math isn't simple anymore when I look at the date. So we're going to say 213. The number will be right when I upload it. So, today, I needed to drink. So, first thing, really quickly, my intention for covering all of this Gen Con stuff is I'm going to cover one subject per video for like the big things, like Darrington Press is yesterday, today is Dungeons and Dragons. And so I thought Darrington Press announced a crap ton of stuff yesterday. So I assumed they were done announcing stuff. I was wrong. They, after one of their live plays that they're doing at Gen Con, there's going to be another big announcement that they could claim is happening. So expect another video talking about that. I may pair it with other topics that I want to talk about but aren't enough for an entire video. So, that out of the way, let's talk about some Dungeons and Dragons. So, D&D has had some interesting things happening to it recently. Todd Kenrick is gone. He used to be the dude that did all the interviews for D&D Beyond. Guess what he's doing now? He's interviewing tabletop RPG creators like Matt Mercer and Chris Perkins and Jeremy Crawford on his own YouTube channel instead of D&D's YouTube channel. So, how's that working out for you, Wizards of the Coast? We also... or they also, I'm not a part of them in any way, shape, or form. They also lost the head of Dungeons and Dragons for reasons. So coming into Gen Con, again, love them or hate them, they are the oldest TTRPG in existence, and they are the most popular TTRPG in existence. And with Gen Con being the largest TTRPG convention in the US, something's going to happen. They're going to have to make announcements. And they did. And some of them, in my personal opinion, were extremely shocking. So, let's go chronologically from when I became aware of them. So, 2 days ago, on the D&D Beyonds, we got to meet a dude named I'm going to try this again. Dan Ayub. And if I'm mispronouncing your name, I am very sorry. I'm pretty sure it's Dan. However, the last name, I'm just not used to seeing that particular collection of letters together. So, you're a wonderful person. If anyone has no idea who that is the new head of D&D. I did not take the time to kind of look through their credentials or try and kind of look up exactly what they've done for D&D. But according to the article, they are, quote, no stranger to D&D, both professionally and personally. I previously worked with Wizards of the Coast on their digital products, and I've recently become the head of the Dungeons and Dragons franchise. So, they were doing something on the digital end. Now they are running D&D as a whole. Like it, hate it, this is what it is. However, they... this article made quite a few announcements that are pretty big for D&D and just TTRPGs in general. The first thing they talk about is mentioning, their subheading here is a system that belongs to you. And then a stronger SRD, step by step. So basically kind of reaffirming the idea of, yeah, we're done trying to play the licensing game with the SRD. This is your game. We just make it. But the next thing they talked about is actually pretty impressive. For anyone that doesn't know, there is a virtual tabletop that D&D Beyond has been developing for a while that they call Maps. Sorry, it's something on my monitor is bothering me. Maps is a 2D virtual tabletop that is basically exclusively made for D&D. I would never want to even attempt to try and play like the cipher system on it because it is designed not only to work for D&D, but it is specifically designed to integrate with D&D Beyond. And in that aspect, it's actually pretty cool. Any adventure that you have in D&D Beyond, for the most part, I think there might be one or two as of right now that are currently in there. But eventually all of them will be. Any adventure that you buy in D&D Beyond, you can run it in Maps, and it will have all of the maps in there preloaded for you. You can drag and drop monsters from from any source that you have on D&D Beyond. So you can any D&D Beyond characters can be put into it, and it's all integrated with D&D Beyond. So it's pretty cool. It has been in closed beta for a while now. I want to say well over a year, maybe two. And that's only been available to subscribers. I think master tier subscribers, which I am because it allows me to create campaigns and share all of my books with all my players. And I use that a lot. And it also gives me things like unlimited characters and stuff like that. And it's like $5 or $6 a month. Like, it's really cheap. So anyway, so up until now, the only people that have been able to play around with it have been subscribers. Well, in this article, it announced September 16th, which is when the release of Heroes on the Borderlands comes out. And I'll just read directly from the press release. All D&D Beyond registered users can run games on the Maps virtual tabletop. No subscription required. The core experience will be made available to everyone. If you own a map, module, or adventure on D&D Beyond, you can use it on Maps and invite your friends to play, period. Our master tier subscriptions will unlock more customizability for DMs who need it. You'll be able to upload homebrew maps, custom tokens, and access exciting tools built just for you. I have no idea what the exciting tools built just for you are, but homebrew maps and custom tokens are nice. But Maps in and of itself looks like it's being really designed for people that want to run official Dungeons and Dragons content, of which there's a lot of people. Like, they wouldn't keep publishing adventures if nobody played the adventures. I think it's something that we tend to undervalue when, like me, I have not run an official D&D published adventure in years. Aside from, I am technically it's not D&D published. I'm running a third party. I'm running an excerpt from a third party thing in one of my homebrew games because the monster design and everything was just really, really cool, and I wanted to do it. So, and my players are having a blast with it. Brain just completely there it goes. So a lot of people like me and a lot of kind of veterans in the industry, the people basically that watch D&D YouTube, kind of undervalue just how many people like running pre-written adventures, because there's this, I guess, massive pride, I guess, arrogance, I guess, of this idea of, oh no, I'm a dungeon master. I don't write other people's things. I write my own adventures. No one that comes to my table is ever going to have to run through an adventure that someone else might have experienced. No, I custom craft every single adventure specifically for you, so that you never feel that you are getting anything less than the best. but it's not the average D&D experience. A lot of people buy the adventures and run the adventures. It's why they keep publishing them. And so Maps is just going to make that easier. Now, I have messed around with Maps. It's a fine virtual tabletop if the only thing you ever want to do is run D&D 5th edition. If you want to do literally anything else, it's not that great. But for running D&D 5th edition, it's really hard to argue with just how well it works. One thing that I'm not pleased about it, it doesn't have the ability to put like ambience and stuff like that, which for me is a really, really important part of the games that I run, because since I run them online, the ambience helps get the players into the game itself. Yeah. But I don't know. It's possible that those tools built just for you that they talk about in there might have a jukebox option or something like that to add that. The other thing that's not technically bundled with Maps, like it is with a few different virtual to the tabletops, is there's no, as far as I can tell, there's no video or audio communication stuff bundled in it with it. So if you want to use it, you do need Zoom or Discord, which so many people have already that it's not that big a deal. And I can kind of understand them not wanting to kind of waste time trying to integrate video and voice into something when most people aren't going to use it. That in and of itself, that's a pretty big deal. And it is kind of a selling point for getting stuff on D&D Beyond. I said this quite a few different times. I highly recommend that if you are a new game master just in general, you shouldn't, the first game that you run should not be homebrew. You should not be homebrewing anything your first time. You really should run something pre-written. And if you can, find a pre-written adventure that seasoned game masters think is really well written. Because it's really, really easy to run a poorly written pre-written adventure and then just go, oh, well, I just don't like this system. Or I don't like being a GM at all because this was just not fun for me. Well, you had a bad experience, and that's going to flavor the things for you. So, Maps makes that significantly easier. A lot of the prep work that you, like, again, when I used to run adventures for conventions, one of the things that most DMs had to do was you'd have to make your maps. Because 5th edition didn't require maps, but at conventions it was kind of expected, to the point where I generally didn't use maps in most of my games because I just hated drawing maps. I had a wet erase map in the rare instance that I'm like, no, this, because there's a few adventures that you really couldn't not use a map. It was complicated enough that you're like, no, I really need to use a map for this one. But anyway, because I didn't use maps, I would start off every session that I wasn't going to use a map going, by the way, guys, I'm going to be running this stuff Theater of the Mind. I do it for a number of reasons. One, I'm not particularly fond of maps in general. Two, my handwriting is absolutely atrocious. So even if I did make you guys maps for these, there's very little chance you would be able to understand what was on the map, because that's just not my gift. I promise running at Theater of the Mind is going to be wonderful. It's what I specialize in, but I just don't really do maps that often. So having the ability to just buy something like Heroes on the Borderlands, you can buy Heroes on the Borderlands, the digital version of it, and then just run that. To be blunt, ad nauseum. You, if you want to get on something like Start Playing, beginner games are unbelievably popular. They're also really popular at conventions and things like that. So if you get good running beginner games, you can just run them over and over and over again on Roll20, on maps, on whatever you want to do. And if you learn how to market it correctly, you can make decent money. I'm not saying quit your day job or anything like that, but extra pocket money to kind of support your dice addiction. Yeah, that's very possible. So yeah, having maps be free to everybody and all you have to do is like buy the adventures that you want to run. I think that's a great the thing, and I think it will be very useful. I'm really interested to see what the master tier subscription gets you other than homebrew mats and custom tokens. But yeah, we'll see. So that's one thing. It's also another argument against the idea of like D&D's trying to just take over all of the. No, they're not. They're making maps free. They're not trying to wring your money out of you. If they wanted to wring money out of you, they'd create their own subscription for maps. So yeah, moving on. The next thing that was announced on here made me kind of skeptical, not because I don't think it's a good idea. It's just I've rarely, if ever, seen ideas like this show positive change. But they're attempted constantly. The subheading is for the community, or from the community, for the community. Sorry. And I'm just going to read the press release. We're laying the groundwork for a new initiative that will bring community voices directly into the room. Our goal is to create a rotating advisory group made up of creators, publishers, educators, and fans who can help us shape future tools, policies, and content in a real, ongoing way. We're still finalizing the structure and process, but our intention is clear. This isn't a one-time survey or a PR move. It's about building lasting collaboration with the people who make D&D what it is. And then in addition to that, we're also developing a creator spotlight program that will highlight third-party creators across our official channels. If you're making something incredible, the world should see it. And then they just talk about we've stumbled before, but we've learned from it, stuff like that. You know, they're still apologizing about the debacle that was the OGL, which again was mostly lies and misinformation, but people believe the lies, and so they're still paying for it. So the idea of some sort of advisory group to Dungeons and Dragons gets weird really, really quick. From a legal standpoint, from like business law, a for-profit company like Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro, its parent company, is not allowed to accept free labor in any way, shape, or form. And what is effectively defined as free labor is basically anything that could possibly help them to make money. So this group theoretically could be considered something that could help them make money because they're getting, you know, ideas and stuff. At the exact same time, other groups have, you know, other companies have done this and continue to do this. Like that's what, you know, what's it called? I can't think of it. Marketing in general kind of does stuff like this, but a lot of times for focus groups and stuff like that, there's some form of remuneration. So you're getting paid in some way, shape, or form. So I don't know how this thing is going to work. However, story time. When I was very young, not really. When I was in like 7th or 8th grade, I was invited to be a part of a group that was designed to make our school lunch food better. And the reason why was, I think I can count, other than field trips, I think I can count on my hands the number of times I brought lunch from home when I was going to school. I always bought whatever the school was feeding us. And again, this is all the way from kindergarten all the way to when I graduated high school. At school, I ate nothing but what they fed us. And I also knew some of the lunch ladies because I was that weird kid that was just like, I knew most of my teachers pretty well. I knew the lunch ladies. I was just a friendly person in general. So I was selected to be the representative of my grade in this group to talk about the school lunches and find ways to improve them. And I think I attended meetings for this group for like a few months. Nothing happened. Literally nothing changed. Because while, yes, we tried to give feedback, it's kind of the same problem that what's it? It's kind of the same problem that Twitch Do Better and now Stop Killing Games has. Is you had a bunch of people on one side with absolutely no knowledge of how the other side works in any way, shape, or form. Again, in this case, we were children trying to give feedback on a process that we don't understand. Like, the only thing that we could do is say, well, we like this or we don't like that. And to be blunt, they could figure out what people liked and didn't like by how often people bought them. Like, that information was already there. And again, I've seen other companies try and do similar things like this, where they try and get, like, customer feedback and do focus groups and stuff like that. And they're running focus groups in general is something that you learn how to do in marketing. And it's really, really essential because it's really, really easy to run a focus group that is a complete waste of money. Now, the fact that they're specifically talking about an advisory group made up of creators, publishers, educators, and fans who could help us shape future tools, policies, and content in a real ongoing way, that is a nice collection of people. Because if all they got was fans, it would be a complete, absolute waste of time. Because fans of D&D are a strange bunch. Like, D&D YouTube is technically fans of YouTube, and they spent like a year and a half celebrating the downfall of Dungeons and Dragons. Fans are nearly worthless as a source of reliable information because fan doesn't actually describe anything other than I interact with this product. And that it doesn't mean anything. And it also doesn't mean that they're going to understand anything. Having publishers, educators, I don't know what they mean by creators. I'm hoping beyond hope that all the people that were on their list of where they did the kind of apology tour after the OGL, and every single person that interviewed them would end the interview and then make up a bunch of other questions afterwards that they couldn't answer because they weren't there anymore, and go, look, they never gave us answers to these questions. That obviously means they were lying. So I hope to God those are not the people that they want to partner with, because those people are disingenuous and do not need to be a part of the creative pop process. But partnering with publishers, I like the idea that they're thinking about partnering with educators, because school D&D programs are really, really great. But yeah, the idea of them actually having some kind of advisory group theoretically could be a good thing. They claim it's not a PR, it's not a PR move. It is. However, it's not exclusively a PR move. I think the intent behind this is for them to be able to avoid not only what happened with the OGL, which again was 99% misinformation. Every time I talk about it, I have to kind of bring up the fact that that nonsense excuse for a journalist literally lied to people repeatedly and then made shit up to create a problem where there wasn't really any, and then got fired because of it. So, but anyway, I believe that they're trying to avoid not only what happened with the OGL, but also what happened with 5.5. Because despite the fact that they did playtesting not nearly long enough, to be perfectly honest, but they did playtesting for like a year, and then released it, it was received really poorly. especially compared to D&D 5th edition. Like I said, the of the 3 core books that they released for 5.5, the only one that I actually liked was the DM's Guide. And that was just because it actually taught you how to be a GM instead of just assuming that you're already an amazing GM and here's some extra tools for you, which is what the GM's Guide has been since its inception. Or the Dungeon Master's Guide, sorry. So, yes, this is a PR move. However, I think there is an actual intent that this is going to also be a way to ensure that D&D doesn't kind of lose its focus like it did with 5.5. Like I think everyone can kind of agree on the idea that 5.5 was Dungeons and Dragons telling us what we wanted instead of asking us what we wanted and giving it to us. And yeah, like we've seen that fail time and time again. Like Blizzard was really, really famous for just getting to the point where they were just telling people, no, that's not what you want. This is what you want. And then when they gave us, quote unquote, what we wanted, it didn't sell. So I think that's effectively what happened with 5.5 is they didn't understand their audience. They didn't understand how people were playing because they're locked in this little bubble of people that are surrounded by D&D 24/7, and they completely just missed the point. So theoretically, this new advisory group might be a great thing, and it might lead to D&D getting back on track and avoiding the things like removing all the lore from all of their books so that it's more generic. We don't want generic D&D. We play D&D because it's D&D. If we wanted a generic fantasy RPG, there's tons of them out there. And they do generic a lot better than Dungeons and Dragons does. So don't be generic. Be Dungeons and Dragons. So anyway, I thought that was interesting. Moving on. And that was really the end of that little spiel. However, there was a panel that happened this morning, I believe, because all the tweets are from 6 hours ago, where they talked about all the stuff that's coming out on D&D Beyond, which is where they publish everything now. So this is all the stuff that they're talking about for D&D. And they mentioned stuff like the new Cthulhu by Torchlight thing that came out. I haven't even looked into that as far as what it is, but I'm assuming it's like a Cthulhu campaign setting style thing, or maybe just a Cthulhu themed adventure. But that's a thing. They talk about Legend of Avantris, you know, those people that are going to be doing the Daggerheart miniseries. Well, they also publish a shit ton of stuff for D&D. It's probably why they're as big as they are. This year they released a thing called Crooked Moon. It's another thing that I haven't involved myself in because there's just so much stuff. It's not that I don't like Avantris. There's just lots of stuff, and I've been saving money for a new sump pump. They talk about my personal favorite thing that has come out third party, which is Heliana's Guide to Monster Hunting Part 1. It's Monster Hunter for D&D. It's so much fun. And then they talked about Mage Hand Press and their gunslinger class and all that stuff. And then the world went nonsense. Cats and dogs living together. Mass hysteria. Paizo's chief creative officer, Eric Mona, came on stage during the Dungeons and Dragons panel. For those of you that don't know, Pathfinder Bros have been trying to convince us for over a decade that Paizo is Dungeons and Dragons' #1 competition, and D&D will do anything they can to stop Paizo from taking over the #1 spot. It's never been true. Their best year that they've ever had in the existence of the company, if I remember correctly, it did something like $20 million, $28 million of gross revenue. D&D just did $500 million last year. They've never been in competition with Dungeons and Dragons in the entirety of the thing. You want to know why I know that? Because when I first met my friend Chris Perkins, you want to know the first time Chris Perkins called me his friend? Guys, if you're getting sick of me calling Chris Perkins my friend, get over it. I'm just going to keep saying it over and over and over again. He said it twice, and he said it intentionally the second time. I think he was just being nice this time. But the first time I met my friend, Chris Perkins, I was at Gen Con, which is an amazing experience. If you get a chance to go to Gen Con, it truly is the best 4 days in gaming. I was at Gen Con, is at this thing called A Night in Baldur's Gate. And I see him walking around. I'm like, oh my God, are you Chris Perkins? You're my favorite person in the world. I fanboy over him. And then this dude comes over, and Chris goes, oh, hey, have you met my friend Jody? I'm like, I'm Chris Perkins' friend. And then he goes, yeah, this is a dude. I have no idea who it was. To my brain is so Swiss cheese now. I can't even remember what they looked like. He was a dude. I know that. They worked for Paizo. And so he's like, yeah, I work for Paizo. And I'm like, oh, and they were super buddy because Paizo has never, and this was over a decade ago. This was during D&D Next. I played D&D Next during that convention. So this is pre 5th edition. They were buddy. They've never been enemies. You want to know the absolute proof of that? Because Paizo published today. You could go to D&D Beyond, buy it today. Abomination Vaults on D&D Beyond. If you don't know what Abomination Vaults is, I will read directly from the Pathfinder Wiki. Abomination Vaults is the 28th Pathfinder Adventure Path, and the first 3-volume Pathfinder Adventure Path published by Paizo Inc., and ran from January 2021 to March 2021. It is loosely tied to the 2nd edition Pathfinder Beginner Box, which is set in Otari and provides an easier to manage first campaign for players and game masters. It is also focused on a large dungeon complex, something Paizo had wanted to do for some time, but Paizo considered that 6 volumes would be too much to keep interest in a single site. So, Paizo is publishing on D&D Beyond. That's right, folks. Pathfinder is publishing D&D products. Now, for anyone who doesn't know, this actually, I don't believe this is the first time that Pathfinder has published a version of one of their adventure paths that is compatible with 5th edition as opposed to running it in Pathfinder. I believe they've been doing that for a while because, again, a shit ton more people play D&D than they play Pathfinder. And it's just smart business because here's a secret, if anyone's unaware. Pathfinder is Dungeons and Dragons with a different hat. It's what it is. Pathfinder 1st edition was D&D 3.75. Like, it's almost like you can run D&D 3.5 content in Pathfinder with almost no changes. Pathfinder 2nd edition is weird. It's a strange conglomeration of some things from 3rd edition and some things from 5th edition, and it's weird, but it's still Dungeons and Dragons. Like, it, you look at the books and they feel like Dungeons and Dragons. The classes work like Dungeons and Dragons. It's just more complicated, is all it is. So the idea that Pathfinder is publishing stuff for D&D is not really that big of news. And it's not them, quote unquote, selling out or admitting that they're never going to. No, it's a smart business decision. However, this is the first time that Wizards of the Coast has helped Paizo publish something. What I mean by that is, by publishing on D&D Beyond, I will guarantee Wizards of the Coast gets a cut of every sale of Abomination Vaults. I sincerely doubt it's a big cut. Because, again, technically they are quote-unquote competition because they are in the same market. And you can't play both Pathfinder and Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition at the exact same time. But anything that's published on D&D Beyond Wizards of the Coast gets a cut of it. That's one of the reasons why it's so smart for them to allow all these third-party publishers to publish on that platform, because they make effectively passive money, and it creates additional value for D&D in and of itself. If you just don't like the stuff that Dungeons and Dragons has been publishing recently, like me, then don't play it. There's so many other things that you can do, that you can play with Dungeons and Dragons. Matt Colville has a couple books on there. Kobold Press has a bunch of books on there. We already talked about the new Cthulhu thing. They've got a Lord of the Rings flavor of Dungeons and Dragons. Like, there is so much stuff, and it's all on D&D Beyond. You can use the D&D Beyond character builder, and you can put it into maps and all that stuff. Like, it's really, really very simple. And now Abomination Vaults is on D&D Beyond. It blows my mind. First of all, because Mega Dungeons have not really been a thing for D&D 5th edition, and I think that is a grave disservice. I love Mega Dungeons. They're a very, very specific type of D&D game that takes a specific type of player, but they're so much fun and they're so interesting, and I just love them so much. So now we have a pretty expansive mega dungeon that you can now play in D&D 5th edition with all the other nonsense that 5th edition entails. You want to be a gunslinger in it? We have a gunslinger class. It's not made by D&D, but it's officially been published on there. We still have we still have Mercer's gunslinger subclass for fighter. We still have Mercer's blood hunter on the there. Like, there's lots of cool stuff and interesting things that can exist on the D&D Beyond. So, yeah, I was blown away when I saw that. The other thing, I thought Abomination Vault sounded familiar to me, despite the fact that I do not play Pathfinder. I have played it before. It's not a bad game. It's just not a game for me. But the name sounded familiar. So, I can't remember specifically when this was announced. I think it was in June was when it was officially announced. Let's see if they have it on the Steam page here. June, May, looks like it might have been announced even earlier than that. Anyway, there is a co-op hack and slash ARPG based on the adventure path in which players lead iconic Pathfinder heroes into the depths of Gauntlight Keep and battle deadly abominations to reach the evil sorceress Belcora Haruvex. I don't know why I mixed those letters up. And end her vile schemes. So there's going to be an Abominations Vault. As far as I can tell, it looks kind of like a Diablo clone. Isometric action RPG. So it's actually kind of given me Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance feels. And anyone that says that Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance was not absolutely a blast to play doesn't know what they're talking about. So, in addition to Abomination Vaults being available for 5th edition players, eventually there's no release date for Abomination Vaults as of right now, the video game. But eventually we're also going to be able to play it on our computers and other things as well, I'm assuming. It has full controller support, according to the Steam page. And it says the developers recommend playing this game with a controller. So I'm thinking that it might also launch on consoles as well, because controller support tends to be the biggest issue for most console launches. So, anyway, yeah, Pathfinder. You can play Pathfinder in D&D, guys. And again, that's not a new thing. There's been, I think, Kingmaker. They've had a D&D conversion for Kingmaker for forever. If you're not familiar with Kingmaker, Kingmaker is probably one of the more famous adventure paths for Pathfinder. Tons of people have played it. They turned it into a video game. That one was a turn-based kind of Baldur's Gate 3 style thing long before Baldur's Gate 3 was a thing. And I've heard very, very good things about it. I own the game. I just haven't been able to play it. I also think I might own Wrath of the Righteous too, which is another Pathfinder game. again, I've mentioned this before. I think Pathfinder makes for a great video game. I just don't think it's a fantastic TTRPG. But yeah, you can officially buy a Pathfinder Adventure Path on D&D Beyond. And I find that amazing. For all the Pathfinder bros that are always hating on Wizards of the Coast, guess what? Paizo doesn't hate Wizards of the Coast. They acknowledge that their game wouldn't exist without Wizards of the Coast. And despite them blatantly lying during the OGL debacle, where they're like, oh, we had no idea they were doing this. Well, wait a minute. Didn't you guys actually get an early copy of this and actually give notes on this? Well, I don't know what you're doing. We're going to sue you if you try to do this. But you knew about this already. How are you going to sue them? We're going to make our own thing. We're going to call it Orcs. Okay, have fun with that. So yeah, I think it's amazing. Also, well, I guess interested to hear from you guys specifically. I know I have Pathfinder fans that watch this. Have any of you guys played Abomination Vaults? I would love to hear what your thoughts on this are. The fact that it is getting translated to 5th edition and published on D&D Beyond, or is actually already published on D&D Beyond, to me lends credence to the idea that it had to have been well received. But this is, other than that video game, this is the first time I've heard about it. I'm familiar with Kingmaker because, again, it's really, really popular and it's been around for a long time. And I had a video game about it. But I'd heard about Kingmaker before the video game. So yeah, if I have Pathfinder players or just people that are Pathfinder adjacent, I would love to hear your thoughts specifically on Abomination Vaults. Or if anybody either has picked it up or is planning on picking it up through D&D Beyond, I would love to hear about that. I may do an in-depth review on that if I have the money for it. I haven't actually checked to see how expensive it is. And again, I have to buy a sump pump first. And they're expensive. But if I can get the money for it, I may do that. Oh, I guess I should also mention, they talked about the new Forgotten Realms books. There's 2 of them. I really don't care about them right now. So, anyway, like I said, interested to hear from you guys. What are you guys thinking about all of the announcements that have been made thus far at Gen Con? Obviously, if you want to talk about the Forgotten Realms books, that's fine. They didn't really reveal that much more about them other than they're Forgotten Realms, and we're probably going to see those Forgotten Realms playtest packets in there somewhere. Ooh, wow! So one of the reasons I'm not particularly fond of the playtest stuff is because it kind of it removes some of the surprise when you get a new book of, oh, wow, I wasn't expecting this subclass. We know exactly, 9 times out of 10, we know exactly what's going to be in the book because we've playtested all of it. But anyway, so yeah, what do you guys think about the advisory council? What do you guys think about the maps announcement, this announcement about Paizo, or anything else D&D related? If I missed any big Dungeons and Dragons announcements, put them in the comments. I will comment on them in another video. This one has gotten long enough. Anyway, it's going to be all for me today. I will see you guys next time. All right? Bye-bye.